What is up, YouTube? Coming at y'all with another video. This one is about bold NFL takes. Here I'm joined with my guy, RYAxDraft. Check him out on Instagram. Check me out on Instagram in that ad that you can't see right there because my computer's not registering my hand. But y'all get the point. Check me out right there at Adroit Talks on Instagram, on Twitter, on Twitch. Follow your boy. Um, Ryan, you can go ahead and RY, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? I watch tape, watch film for the NFL draft skill positions. Been posting my top 50, top three coming out tomorrow. Go check me out at RYAxDraft.
Boom. So with this show, it's gonna be a lot going on. We have some NFL takes that we gotta go ahead and get across. First and foremost, this is before the NFL draft. Some news that happened today. My Broncos did end up getting Melvin Gordon. So he's back. We got our tandem back from last year. Let's hope there's no more fumbling problems in Denver. That way we can beat the Chiefs this year, hopefully. Fingers still crossed.
I mean, if you want to get into that for a second, let's start off with this. That was going to be one of my topics. Um, at least from a fantasy perspective, Javonte Williams dropped 100, like very, 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 very low. But do you think that he's going to have a running back one production with a running back two there, or do you think it's going to be split carries like last year?
I think it's going to be split carries, but I think both of these guys are going to have over 1,000 yards. The reason why I say that is mainly because now our offense isn't going to be one dimensional. It's not going to be first and 10, and everybody knows this is a running play. Russell Wilson, his expertise is knowing the NFL, and we have the offensive line to really let both of these guys run freely. And Javante, the first 3 games of the season, it was like he was building trust with the coaches, and they didn't really give him the ball as much. But now I think that he will be the starter, but Melvin will have a lot to prove. And both of those guys will have over 1,000 yard seasons.
That's definitely something that like I feel like it could happen, but definitely I also think that it could happen, especially because again coming back to Russell Wilson, he is I'm just gonna say he is the best deep ball in the NFL. Um, and once you spread out the
Whoa.
field, it comes back too. I mean,
That
some
was
of the deep balls that
over Josh Allen. That's bold, bro.
Josh Josh Allen has a stronger arm, but if you look at his accuracy on deep balls, there was one deep ball that I saw that came down as a spiral like it was a slant. Like his accuracy on the deep balls is insane. He doesn't have as strong as of an arm, but he's crazy.
I can't debate that. I think I've seen the pass you're talking about. I think I've seen the pass you're talking about. Yeah. Russ, man, he's a talent. I think he's definitely gonna unlock what George Patton has been setting up in Denver the past couple of years. Our offense just couldn't get it going, man. I think a lot of people, especially sports analysts now, are starting to pay attention to what's going on in Denver. They see we have 3 starting wide receivers, and now we have 2 running backs that can really start with a pretty solid offensive line. Um, the only thing that could hurt us is our division.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Um, So I wanted to take it over to another AFC team in the Jags, who in the past couple of days have had a very interesting controversy with the number one overall pick. There's been I would say, pretty trustworthy sources, different sources that have said different things about the first overall pick. And I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and this is what basically sums it all up. The coach wants an offensive lineman, either Ike Mekwanu or Neal. The general manager wants Trayvon Walker, and the owner wants Hutchinson. So you never know if this is true, but it's some pretty reliable sources, and I was putting it together yesterday, and this could be one of the most interesting picks because I think it shows how much they're going to trust their new head coach and their new GM over their owner, even though I do think the owner has the better pick here.
Me too. It's kind of a shame that an owner knows the best pick for the team versus a coach or a GM who should know football more than basically a billionaire in what they're doing. To me, Aiden Hudson should be the number one overall pick. Yes, you could get um, Evan Neal or Icky, but it's harder to find a generational defensive edge rusher than it is to get an offensive tackle. They just got Greg Robinson signed into a 3-year deal, I believe
Okay.
today. If it wasn't today, it was yesterday. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think that they should get a tackle, but the GM is the one who went ahead and made that move with getting Greg Robinson to come back again. So it's either between who'd you say the GM wanted?
Walker.
Walker?
Yeah. Trayvon
Yeah,
Walker.
I'm doing that on purpose, by the way. Walker, I, if the GM does that, I think I'm gonna say it, I think he wants to lose his job, bro. I've watched Walker's tape, and I just don't see number one overall player. If anything, get Jordan Davis number one overall. Don't go Trayvon Walker. He wasn't the best player on Georgia's defense, but Aiden
Not
Hutchinson,
even close.
yeah, but Aiden Hutchinson was definitely the best player on Michigan's defense. And how can you even draft somebody number one overall who's not the best player on their defense? And I can even argue he wasn't the second best. I think a player whose name that we're not going to mention had an amazing season at Georgia before his season was cut short due to some allegations that may not be allegations at this point, but I stopped following the story. But still, Trayvon Walker, I don't see the generational talent. I don't see the number one overall pick. But this is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've been making mistakes for decades now. Um, they could do it again.
So here's what I hate even more about this pick is um how much teams are sleeping on Jermaine Johnson compared to Trayvon Walker. Because what they're saying about Trayvon Walker is he put up decent to bad tape, but showed at the combine, right? I mean, Jordan Davis showed better at the combine. Devontae Wyatt showed better at the combine, and Jermaine Johnson blew up the combine and the Senior Bowl. I mean, this is someone that's getting slept on really hard. In the mock draft that we just did together a couple minutes ago, we had him going highly, but most people don't have him going that high. They have him dropping to 20 or something. And I even heard someone saying that there are teams that would trade down to 20 because they want him and they think that the top 10 is too high for him. The top 10 may be a little too high, but honestly, I could easily see that, and I think he's very capable. I have him as my 13th player, ahead of people like Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Devontae Wyatt, Chris Olave. I mean, I really think he is someone that's being massively slept on because he is doing what the offseason process is for.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um,
Everything you can ask out of him, he's doing it.
yeah. So let's take it into your sleepers. Who are your top three sleepers? I mean you said this in one of the mock drafts that we did. Is that you love Chad Muma, the linebacker from Wyoming. But who else?
I think my number one sleeper in this draft, his name is Alec Pierce. I think that Alec Pierce could definitely be one of those players drafted in the second, third, fourth round who ends up being a starter in the league. And a lot of these wide receivers have bust written all over them. I'm just gonna say it. Drake London, I think he's gonna be a
Mm-hmm.
bust. Chris
Yep.
Olave, I think he's gonna be a bust as well. I say Chris Olave is gonna be a bust because to me, he's a scheme type of player. I didn't see him win a lot of man coverage. If you're not beating man off the line of scrimmage in college, there's no way you're gonna do it against grown men at the next level. Um, But my guy's Alec Pierce. Also, I think his teammate's going to be another sleeper, Desmond Ritter. I think Desmond Ritter has um, he had a pretty nice tape. Yes, he did have some faults, but with 1 year watching another quarterback see what not to do, or 1 year just looking at the game at the next level and under the right toolage, I think he can definitely take his game to the next level and can be one of the best players in this year's draft. It's bold, but it's my opinion. Desmond Ritter, he wanted the next level. He has the stats. He doesn't have an interception problem. In my opinion, he put everything out there on tape. There just wasn't that one trait that really set him above everybody. Yeah, he runs a 4.4, but where's the strong arm? Where's the pocket awareness? Where's the um, being able to analyze the whole field consistently? That wasn't there on tape, and I think a lot of teams are scared off by it. But he could definitely be a great player at the next level. Those are my two sleepers.
Okay, I mean, definitely two players that I can see, kind of like players that could kind of sneak into the first round. But I mean, I love the Desmond Ritter pick. I think if you look back to players that I mean, look at quarterbacks nowadays, or even for a while now. Look at quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers. Look at quarterbacks like it's not coming to me right now. Look at quarterbacks like Drew Brees. These are players that in college they put on the tape and they played well in the NFL, but they were not a winner, right? And that was a big thing with Trevor Lawrence. He is a winner, um, and I think that's a massive thing that teams are gonna like. Um, about Trayvon Walker, about Desmond Ritter. And I think that's the only reason that he like not the only reason, but I think that's the main reason. And I was seeing a couple days ago something about how his throwing motion was very inconsistent. And as someone who plays quarterback, and there's a quarterbacks coach named Jordan Palmer, one of
Yeah,
Carson Palmer's brother, actually, one of
yeah.
the best coaches like for quarterbacks that there is, coaches all the best quarterbacks, and they are right on tape. When you look at his throwing motion, it is very inconsistent. When you look at the pro day, it's completely different. Jordan Palmer took him through the camp like every other quarterback, and he really made him a whole different player. And I think that he's going to shock some people. This isn't really a sleeper, but along with Bailey Zappi, who still confuses me how he's so low.
I think what a lot of teams are scared of with Bailey is that he has the numbers, but it wasn't against top tier talent. Um, I think Bailey can definitely do it. He if he goes to the Texans, that'll be perfect for him. But I think he can definitely do it.
Yeah, so getting into my sleepers here, I mentioned this in the mock draft that we did a couple days ago. When you look at my top 50, it's on my Instagram. There's a couple players that I think people would be shocked on how low they are, um, and a couple players that you would like. It is way higher than other people think. And one of them is Jalen Petrie. I have him as my 26th player on the board. I have him as my, I think, number five defensive back, including Kyle Hamilton and Lewis Cine and stuff like that. Because, I mean, if you watch his tape, that is the definition of dominance. He plays any position on defense. He's amazing at shooting gaps. And he really does play like he's a speed rusher. But I think what really puts it all together is his football IQ. He's decently sized, a little bit like a little bit smaller than some of the other slot guys that play up close. Um, so I think he's definitely a massive sleeper that will definitely shock some people. And I think I really took a deep dive into the receiver class this year, and that is why I have such strong opinions on the receivers this year. Um, because my top 10 looks like some other people's top 10, but I think the thing that differentiates it is Drake London being out of the top five. I mean, I really do think that he will not be able to do anything at the NFL level. Um, when you look at his size, he's a good size. He's 6'4", 210. That's a big size, but like he's not a player that's big enough to win with only size. Like I wrote about him here. He has a dropping issue, which was very like he had the same amount of drops as people that played the full season, and he only played 8 games. He had 8 drops, and if you look at like the top players, like Garrett Wilson had 6 and played a full season. Traylon Burks had 4, played a whole season. Jameson Williams had 6, played the whole season besides the championship game, but that's even more games than Drake London played. 5 drops from Chris Olave, 2 from John Dotson. I mean, he's known for his hands, but like you're seeing that there's a dropping issue there. And then the other issue is he doesn't use his size, and that's why that brings me to my second sleeper is Traylon Burks. I posted on my story that I had a post about wide receiver recap, and for size I wrote Traylon Burks. Everyone was saying that's Drake London, but if you watch the tape, he is the player that uses his size the best. Right? He's the player who will catch it over your head, but will also be able to stiff arm you like literally to the bottom of the under the grave under the football field. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
He's one of the strongest players in this field in this draft class, in this wide receiver draft class, and he's being slept on hard. I think that I've been a little iffy to take him so high just because I've been trying to make it realistic. But I have him as my number 2 receiver, and I had him at my number 1 until I did a full examination of Garrett Wilson, who's a beast in this draft class. But yeah, what do you think about Traylon Burks?
I think Traylon Burks definitely has the tools to really take his game to the next level. With him, he has football speed. So the combine didn't really show what he can do on that field. I think he ran like a
Yeah,
4.5, 4.6, one of those. But you watch him on tape, that guy look like he running like a 4.3 out there. You watch him on tape, he's out of all the tape that I watched, out of all the wide receivers, he's the only wide receiver that I've seen lower his shoulders and actually put somebody's, I'm gonna say it, put somebody's dick in the dirt. Nobody else did that I've seen. I mean, it's not in their repertoire. Some of these guys are smaller guys, but he's the only one that I've seen legit trying to bury somebody in the ground. And out of everybody, I think he can definitely be a household name, Pro Bowler with the right system.
yeah. And I mean, this brings me to something that I think can be a very an interesting situation of what is a good place for him. Because unlike Garrett Wilson or like Jameson Williams, who can really work in any offense because they have a very specific role that's a very classic role in offense. You know, speedster, a good route runner. Then there's Jahan Dodson, that's just a good overall receiver. But Traylon Burks, I feel like needs the right coach, and there are 2 coaches that I think will bring the best out of him. Um, and those 2 coaches are number 1 to my Atlanta Falcons, Arthur Smith. He did it with AJ Brown, and he's been more creative with Cordero Patterson. He loves those big bodies. Got Kyle Pitts last year, and will just make him the best player he can be. And I think the number 1 coach for him to go to, which brings it to a Debo trade, would be Kyle Shanahan. If they get rid of Debo, I think Traylon Burks is, yeah, I'm not saying he's going to replace him, but he has the best shot in this class to replace him, not by not by talent, but by what he can do on the field and what he can produce on the field, because he can play running back, and he actually did play running back a lot of times. And I mean, if you look at what I wrote about him, it's the definition of the 49ers. It's yards after catch. And if you pair him with someone like, you know, some of the players on the team like Elijah Mitchell, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, I mean, it's going to be tough to stop that man. You saw how many 90 plus yard touchdowns he has. You saw how aggressive he is, and I think he has that same mentality as George Kittle of um um. I think George Kittle's a little more injury prone with this, but Traylon Burks and George Kittle share the mentality of, I don't care about injury. I will get the extra 2 yards even if that means I have a higher chance of getting smacked to the floor, right? George Kittle does that a lot, and that's why he's out for a lot of the time, but I think Traylon Burks is bigger compared to the players that he's going to be playing against at 6'3", 225, which is crazy to think about because Julio, who's known as a bigger receiver, is 5 pounds lighter than him at 6'3". And he still runs insanely fast, which Julio was fast, but he was never this fast, and that's why I don't have him compared to Julio, who I did think at the beginning he was compared to. And I think that now that I look at it more, it's Jahan Dotson is more of a Julio type player. But yeah, I think he's going to be a crazy player in this draft. And I think my last thing that I want to talk about is like about sleepers in the draft is the running backs in this draft. Right, I have 8 running backs that I scouted that I consider good enough that could either be a kind of role running back or a number one running back. And I'll list you the names right here: Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Spiller, Jerome Cook, James Cook, Damian Pierce, Kyron Williams, and Brian Robinson. The two ones that I want to talk to you about are Brian Robinson and Kyron Williams, right? Alabama's always known for having those insane running backs. And if you look at his stats, I mean, you do see that type of potential there. But then you look at his tape, and I don't know if you were watching this tape, but and when I say this, I am not joking. I think I watched 10 full games, and I don't think he ran past 20 yards. I mean, the guy's amazing at getting that 5, 10 yards and rarely got stopped behind the line of scrimmage. But his lack of big plays is insane, um, and that's the only reason that he's ranked as low as he is for other people. And I think that he could be someone that not necessarily is a sleeper, but is someone that can be taught up to become what we would consider like in a couple years a sleeper.
Definitely. You're talking about Walker, right?
No, 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 no. I'm going way back. I'm going way back in the draft. I'm going to Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama.
Oh, okay, okay. It kind of cut out when you said that. Yeah, I
Oh,
completely
okay.
agree. He's one of those 30 carries a game type of running backs to me. He's one of those guys that's going to get better once the third, fourth quarter comes around and people are tired of hitting him. Because like you said, he doesn't have that breakaway speed, but he's definitely not getting tackled behind the line. Now, a few things or a few reasons why he may not have gotten tackled behind the line as much. Number one, Alabama had one of the best offensive lines in college football. Number two, they have Nick Saban. Number three, he's a pretty solid guy. So I seen him get arm tackled one time, or attempted to have an arm tackle one time, and he completely fought through it and got past it. But other than that, I didn't see a lot of instances where he was behind that line of scrimmage, fighting to get to the line, like you seen with Damian Pierce or even Brees Hall. But I think he can definitely be a sleeper in this year's draft. I just have a really, really strong feeling that this year's draft has a player that's going to get drafted on like the third day, who's going to be one of the best players in the draft. I just don't know who it is. And the fact that you brought him up, he definitely could be this player.
So yeah, here let me share my screen for a second. I'm
Okay.
going to show you two things that I think will change your opinion on what the running backs can be. And here, give me a second right here. Okay, so right here in Kyron Williams, he's a very you see the screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Kyron Williams is someone that is an interesting prospect to me, for one reason, and that's he sucked last year. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you straight. He was bad last year. But if you here, I'm gonna pull up PFF, in here right here. If you look at his PFF, his stats from the years before, I mean, he's a next level type of running back. If he would have gone into the draft after his first year, which I'm 90% sure you cannot do,
Yeah.
He would have been a top player in the draft. Here, look at his stats right here, right? Um, Look at 2020. That's what I'm talking about, right? 211 carries, 1,124 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, 13 touchdowns. And if you look at his stats, he was a beast in 2020. Don't look at PFF grade for a second, but same amount of games played, and look at the difference in carries and the difference in yards. I mean, the guy just he's I feel like it's not necessarily getting slept on, but I feel like when you look at him next to someone like Derek Stingley, who is someone that I don't really like from.
Oh man, it just cut him off. So piggybacking off of what RYA was saying, um, picking off of what he was saying, his stats definitely showed that he's a top player. Um, but we will see what his NFL career blossoms into. Just looking at his stats, he definitely had a great 2020. He definitely performed better. Oh, we got him back. Yes,
Yeah, I'm
sir.
back.
We
Sorry.
got you back. It's
Um,
cool. It
yeah.
happens.
When you look at him compared to like a Derek Stingley, who I was having arguments with other people about this, but if you look at his tape in the past 2 years, it's not even like it's not even like he was necessarily like you didn't see that he was injured on tape for some of the games, and he still was not a good player. So I don't think I really do think that he will shock some people. I don't think he's going to be. I think he can be a really good role running back. But again, if you're looking at the players that are getting drafted highly this year, um, I mean Derek Stingley in particular, really he's if you're just basing off of last year, I mean listen to these stats and then what I wrote, right? uh 43 yards, one touchdown, two receptions in 3 games, right? Sounds decent right there. He didn't play full games in most of the games. Let's start with that. He was inconsistent in tackling. The only thing that he was really good at was zones and when he was targeted on deep plays. And he had no, and one of the things that I noted was he had no flags on 3 deep plays, which was one of his insane highlights. But, um, I
Only
mean,
one
he
drop.
got yeah, he got really, really handsy on double moves. And I think that Derek Stingley will work best as an outside corner this year, because because he has two things that I think are most important for for an outside corner in um, the flags on the deep plays, right? Not getting too aggressive on the deep plays, but the recovery speed, right? And I think that that's what can make him a really good player. And I'm going to go into my last steal of the draft, and then we'll get into something else. In Kyer Elam. He's a little bit higher on the account. I think he's more of a recent post. Yeah, yeah, right on the left there.
That's
Um,
Petrie clicked on.
yeah, on the left.
Yeah.
So he is really someone that I think is getting really underrated, especially because if you look at who they love for their size, I mean Ahmad Gardner, right? The first thing you think about size in this draft for corners is Ahmad Gardner, 6'3", 200. Look at Kyer Elam, 5 pounds lower and one inch lower, 1 inch shorter. I mean, he's not that far off from a Ahmad Gardner type of level of like size. And then you look at his stats, right? They're decent, right? I'm not going to tell you right now that he is insane stats, but I think he is again one of those players that will be a great outside corner, right? I wrote, I'm just going to read off of you, right? Read off of it. Um, Mediocre zone, and I think that that's something that you would need as a slot corner, right? Which is like one of the number one things that you need as a slot corner. And if you're really looking for a slot corner here, there are some decent ones in like Trent McDuffie or like a so one of the like Daxton Hill or like Jalen Petrie who play in the slot. But um, the things that I wrote about him just make him an outside corner. He's good at the catch point. He has amazing man to man, and he was in a great division. Again, you said regardless of how his team played, he was a player that played consistently every single week, and he's got those loose hips that you're looking for at corner. Showed that at the combine. I don't remember what his speed was, but I do remember him being pretty fast outside of it. Um, but I really do think that he's a player that people are sleeping on, and I have him as my defensive back four in this draft class in front of players like Trent McDuffie, Jalen Petrie, Andrew Booth, Kyler Gordon, Lewis Seen, which are really good players, and even Daxton Hill, really good players in this draft. Um, and he did. You're right. I saw the combine. He didn't run as fast as I would have hoped.
That's a good
Um,
time.
4.39 in this draft class isn't insane. That's the thing, right? With the numbers that they've been running this year, that's the issue.
Yeah, but for somebody who's 6'2",
Yeah,
195 with some loose hips, that 4.39 is gonna take him places. Hang on, let me just give a comparison to someone who had a pretty long NFL career. Look at Richard Sherman's 40, and I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
and he's one
he's
of
an
those
inch
bigger.
taller, but still that he's 6'2", he's got the height to 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 really take it to the next level. I think that's pretty amazing to run a 4.39.
Yeah, so I think he's one of the players that really show how athletic they are. Um, and that was, I mean, I'm just gonna shove one last more, and then we'll get to something else. In Tariq Woolen, because he was a player that I finished looking at all my defensive backs, and he was good enough. He ran fast enough that I was like, I should take I should take another look at him. I think he ran a 4.27, 4.29, something like that. 4.26. It says on the thing.
Mhm.
Um, I wrote that on the thing just because of how insane it is. But when you look at his speed, which is something that I've heard from different high like people that are trusted and that I know, is what some people use the combine for, or a lot of the teams use the combine for, is to prove what they saw on tape,
On film,
right? And I
yeah.
think Tariq Woolen is a perfect example of that. He's definitely got the size at 6'4", 205, right? He's extremely athletic, but when you watch his games, he has good football speed too. There are players like Chris Olave or like Garrett Wilson who have crazy speed and they're fast on the field, but I don't think that they're faster than they are normally. Tariq Woolen is a player that is as fast off the field as he is on the field. Um, and I think the two things that really bring him down as a player are his bad to mediocre man to man, which can really mess him up, especially because that's going to be his main thing, and obviously because of his horrible conference. I don't know why I wrote division, um, but his stats also aren't something that like would pop up to you, but and that's mainly because he was tested in man to man and he was always playing against the best receiver on the team. And I see him as kind of like a Gidry type of player on the Jets right now, who plays a couple of snaps here and there, but is consistent in those snaps. And he's kind of like a role player on defense that a lot of modern defenses want. So yeah, that's another player that I think can shock some players getting drafted later.
Definitely. And the thing about the combine that the fans really get to miss out on is the interviews. Um, it all really depends on how his football IQ is. His tape looks pretty good, but you mentioned it before. The conference he played in was terrible. So if he gets inside of that conference room with the GM and the head coach and the assistant coach, and he doesn't know too much about football, it definitely can be an issue, especially coming from a bad conference like that. But he's one of those guys I got my eye on. I definitely want to see what he does at the next level because he has all the tools. He just has to put it together. But to be
Yeah.
6'4" and a 4.26, that is ridiculous, bro. That is. Have you heard about gosh, I can't think of his name. I just had it in my head. Apparently, there's some guy who Alabama just landed in the transfer portal who reportedly runs like a 4.1.
Huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Receiver or corner?
yeah. He's a receiver. He's a receiver. I know I'm changing position, but Alabama just got him in the transfer portal. I want to say from Maryland, one of those schools. Um, and they claim that he runs a 4.1.
I think it's this player right here, Agi something.
Ajayi Hall left.
Yeah.
Ajayi Hall left Bama
Oh
because
no, yeah. Sorry, he left. Right.
yeah. I think it's Louisville. I think he came from Louisville. Hang on. I think I just found him. Tyler Harrell is his name. Apparently he runs a 4.1. Um
Tyler, what?
his Tyler Harrell. Apparently he runs
Uh,
a 4.1. His stats are crazy. Like he averages like 29 yards a catch. I don't
oh my
it's
lord, bro! 18 receptions, 523 yards,
yeah, bro. Yeah.
average
Yeah, bro.
29.1.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I have Nick Saban's done it again, bro. Nick Saban has done it again. I
I
have no
mean,
clue how they got him, where they found him from, and I want to find that 40, but I can't find it. I'm just going off of what
yeah.
people have told me. But yeah,
So
that is
if
gonna
you're
be
just
crazy.
like just looking at his stats for a second, a third of his catches are touchdowns, and he averages just under 30 yards. I mean, he like you look at the past couple years, in the past three drafts, there have been players from Alabama that all can be considered as the fastest player in the NFL. You have Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, and now you have Jameson Williams. I mean, if this guy is really that good, I mean, like I think Alabama is going to be considered one of the best colleges of all time in in making players just ever. Like it's crazy what Nick Saban has been able to do there. And I actually heard a stat that he has more first rounders than losses. Um, in his coaching time in Alabama, he is just crazy.
That is ridiculous. And this guy, Jai Hall, he was a 5-star recruit coming out of college. I'm not sure what happened, but oh look, he got suspended for violating team rules. Okay, so yeah, Nick Saban, I know, basically told him like you gotta face a suspension or you're out of here. So he opted to transfer to Texas. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school. Man, I ran this in the 100 and 200. He's not that fast. But yeah, I definitely want to see what he does, but he won't be drafted for another 2, maybe even 3 years, depending on how his career goes at Texas.
I definitely
Um,
remember seeing him on the tape this year on some of the games with like John Mechie and Jameson Williams. I remember seeing him having a couple snaps here and there.
yeah, I don't. To be honest, Texas is okay, like, but I don't see the hype in going there. Like it's not a. I don't know. I just don't see it. But back to the NFL. I believe you had some more questions, takes.
Yeah, so I got two more things. Okay, I want to start off with something that I don't think is as close to you, but like as a Broncos fan, but actually it is close to you. Sorry, with the Las Vegas Raiders, right? Um, I have had a suspicion here, and this is my take on it, is Aaron Rodgers is only a Hall of Fame quarterback because of Devontae Adams. And I think this year will prove exactly who was benefiting off of who. I think Derek Carr does have a little bit of a connection with Darren Waller, but I don't think it's anything to do with Aaron Rodgers, because if you look at some of their plays and some of their film reviews, I mean, he literally knows exactly where to put it all the time. And usually the way that he beats defenses is from the ridiculous placement of the balls that no one is expecting him to throw, but they're just used to. Like some of their digs turn into comebacks in the middle of the route. Like it's insane. And the thing with Rodgers that I've been the most impressed about is obviously when you look at his stats, the last time he threw 10 plus interceptions was in 2010 with 11 interceptions. And he's been really conservative with the ball, but um, um, but when you look at Devonte Adams, I mean, he's been running the league for a while now, and this also brings me to another thing of top receivers in the league, right? And look at the past 4 years. Besides the year that he didn't finish the full season, he's been going crazy these past 4 years, and and this brings me to something that really uh, in this draft class, right? Is there a possibility that all the players that we consider that are going to be busts will be insane just because of who their quarterback is, right? I think this will prove a lot of how of I think in the future too of how Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase will come out. I think that in that case, it's really Jamar Chase benefiting off of the connection, and I think Joe Burrow's a good quarterback by himself, and Jamar Chase is a decent receiver by himself. But I think that the thing that makes them both elite is that connection, and I think that this will really show who was benefiting off of who for these past 4 years that he's been a back to back MVP and has put up some of the most insane statistics we've seen ever.
Definitely, definitely. I think Devontae definitely helps out Aaron Rodgers with his stats, but I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is no slouch by any means. I think he's still a top five quarterback even without Devontae. Yes, he was benefiting from Devontae running some ridiculous routes. Um, um, com- Route tree completely open with Devontae out there on the field. But even with the stats before Devontae got there, Aaron was still putting up a lot of touchdowns. Look at 2011; that was an amazing season by him. I think they went pretty deep in the playoffs that year. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Devontae was definitely helping them because as these years go by, it's only but so much an old quarterback can do unless your name is Tom Brady. But Devontae, he's definitely top tier, man. Him and Derek Carr, I think they're going to have a great connection. But when they play my Broncos, they're not going to do nothing. Broncos country, baby. But um, yeah, and also to piggyback off of what else you were saying, if I think a lot of these guys, wide receivers coming out of the league, it's all on where they go, the quarterback they have, and the type of connection they build. If
Yeah,
Treylon Burks goes to Baltimore, for instance, and he hits it off with Lamar Jackson, I think that will be a crazy tandem to have Treylon Burks, and then on the other side you have Marquise Brown on the other side of the field. Teams aren't going to know what to do, and you have Lamar Jackson as well. So it's all on where they go and how they fit and how they mesh with each other. Um, I watched quarterbacks for about 5 years play for the Denver Broncos, and they didn't have a connection with the wide receivers. Literally, the last game of the Broncos season, I seen Drew Lock come up to Jerry Judy, and Jerry Judy literally like waved him off, like and bucked up at him, like they not even teammates the way they were going back. But definitely, we'll see how good Aaron Rodgers is. He's 38. Whatever happens this year, if it's bad, I don't think it'll really hurt him because he's had a pretty long career in the NFL.
yeah,
What is it? What is it? 15 years? 15 years now?
just about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 15 years. He's played almost as long as LeBron's played basketball. And he didn't start until Brent Favre left. But regardless, Devontae Adams is going to be a problem. I really hope draft night that Darren Waller gets traded to the Packers. Um, I don't really see why he wasn't included in that trade. But Aaron Rodgers needs a receiver, bro, and um, Devontae is a huge void to fill.
So I think that we were talking about the receivers coming in, and this is we'll finish it off with like a couple minutes of this. Um, in I want to go over my top 10 receivers, and because I think that there's a lot of them, I think that there's a solid four or five that will do worse than everyone below them. Right? So I'm gonna name them right now, okay? Garrett Wilson, Traylon Burks, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Jahan Dotson, Drake London, George Pickens, Alec Pierce, David Bell. David Bell's 10th, and Christian Watson at 9. Starting off with Garrett Wilson, I mean, at least for me, he's worth the hype, right? He's worth that potential top 5 pick. I hope top 10 pick is what he deserves. Um, and I think that he's really a player that will succeed in the NFL.
Yeah, with wide receivers is just so hard to pick because these guys really have to play inside of a good system to be anything. We look at guys like John Ross. He's completely disappeared now. Barely even gets the ball, if you ask me. And there's a whole lot of other wide receivers who just had what it takes at the college level, but they just didn't find that connection at the next level. And with all these guys, I can agree with you. Besides four of them, I think they all have to fit a system. George Pickens,
Yeah,
as much as I love UGA, it's a high probability that he could be a bust. He's coming off of an injury. He's a 50-50 ball type of guy. How is his confidence? Alec Pierce, he can be a huge bust as well. I know I mentioned him earlier in the show that he was one of my sleepers, but with watching his film, there were some plays where he took a play off because the ball wasn't coming in his direction and he knew it, which is bad news, to say the least. Also at Alec, there were some instances where I didn't really see him fight off the line as much as I think he will need to do at the next level. He could definitely add something in his release package. And with Jalen Tolbert, you have him down here. He's a prospect. David Bell, I think David Bell is a prospect as well. But to me, the biggest bust here is Drake London. I think he's
yeah.
highly overrated.
So if you wanna, you were talking about the quarterbacks before, and look at my if you look at my top four quarterbacks, top four receivers right here, then I'll go back to the receivers. Top four receivers, they all have quarterbacks that are up for the Heisman Trophy this year. One of them won it last year, but if you think C.J. Stroud's not up for it, you're wrong. And I think that Arkansas's quarterback, I don't remember his name, but he has some great tape. He's number one on Arkansas. I feel like it's Thompson or something. Um, but he's also a crazy good player, and KJ Jefferson right there, KJ Jefferson, um, and um, and it's really a question of, is that going to help them because they have NFL level quarterbacks there, or is it gonna make them worse because they're used to the good quarterback? And I think that that's coming back to how important a situation is for them. Um, Here, he had the good games that he have were most of the ones that I watched. Um, but he's definitely up for the Heisman this year. And I think he will take the next step too.
Yeah,
But
21 tugs and four interceptions. That's pretty good.
yeah. And he was, I don't know if he had that many rushing yards, but he seemed like a mobile quarterback, at least on tape.
Yeah,
Um, but
664. Sheesh.
yeah. So I think that's really something that's gonna change how the NFL draft goes, and a lot of the overdrafts that at least we had in the mock draft before in what I consider a little bit of a high pick in Kenyon Green at 11, which is a very very possible pick. It's just he's lower for me than he probably is for the Commanders, and I think that scheme fit is going to be a lot, and I think that that's why it was a great pick. And scheme fits are gonna show a lot of why of where players are going to get drafted more than necessarily their skill. So that's what I wanted to end off with.
Facts, man. Great takes as usual. I believe there was another topic that you want to talk about as well.
The quarterbacks?
Yeah, that's fine.
Which
That's
one?
fine.
No, there were a couple. I have plenty, but there was. Oh, okay. So I think that there's. I know I don't have quarterbacks on there. I haven't honestly. I watched a couple of games, but not many. But if you want, you can just go to my top 50, and my top three are there. Malik Willis is at 22. He's the highest one. It's a little bit back, but I think the main question here is that everyone's talking about: is there is there a quarterback in this draft that can be what you would consider a franchise quarterback? And I'm not talking like like stay away from the Patrick Mahomes and the Tom Brady's and the Aaron Rod and no Aaron Rodgers I would consider a franchise quarterback, but stay away from those generational talent quarterbacks for a second, right? Look at someone like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, just a couple to name that just came out of the draft recently. Is there a player like that in this draft class? And when I look at it, I don't think that there is. I mean, when was the last time we had a quarterback that the highest he was getting placed on a top 50 board is 22, right? He's going to get drafted higher than that, but but it is crazy how weak this class was, and I think it all started out with the Spencer Rattler dispute in the middle of the season with what was his name again? Who replaced him? He just transferred to USC. Um, Caleb Williams replaced him in the middle of the season, and Spencer Rattler was supposed to be the number one pick in the draft. He was supposed to be that good, got benched, and is now in the transfer portal. Um, so I think that's a massive question this year, and I wanted to hear your opinions on if there will be a franchise quarterback in this draft.
I don't see it. I'm gonna be real. I really don't see it. I could hype up any of these guys, but I don't. I haven't seen any tape. Then I look at it and I say, "Whoa, this guy's impressive." I even feel the same about Mr. Young that's playing at Alabama. Yeah, he won the Heisman, but I don't see that generational player, that franchise player with a lot of these guys coming out. I'm just not seeing it, man. I think the next time we'll get a top tier quarterback is when Arch Manning is up for the draft, man. That's how bad it's looking to me. To have the best quarterback in college football have terrible footwork to me speaks absolute volumes. There was a lot of times where Mr. Young would step back in the pocket and literally he's looking like a wide receiver playing the quarterback position. His footwork is absolutely terrible. He's plays for one of the best coaches in college football. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, if Bailey gets a chance, I think he really could be the guy for the Texans. I think that would be the perfect place for him. And he could definitely become a household name there. But with a lot of these guys, I feel like their ceiling isn't that high. And Bailey has everything that I look for in a quarterback.
I mean, yeah, you said it.
My guy that I mentioned earlier as a sleeper, Desmond Ritter. The biggest complaint I have with him is that he's not a full field reader. He's a half field reader. He looks at half the
Yeah,
field and he's looking to the left. He looks at half the field and he's looking to the right, or he's running the ball.
but I
It's
mean,
it's
if
nothing else.
if you want to go by that, none of the quarterbacks really in this draft class are good at reading the plays besides like a Matt Corral or Sam Howell, who are already pretty low. Malik
Fact.
Willis can't even throw to the sides of the field. You know, he he really struggled in reads, and as much as people want to say that Kenny Pickett is that kind of like Aaron Rodgers type player in deciphering the plays, he's really not. He's just a pocket passer with small hands, easy fumbles, and not elite accuracy. I can't see anyone in this class really taking the next step.
Yeah, I think he has bust written all over him. I don't want to. I don't want to put my faith in any quarterback that's coming in with gloves on. I'm a Broncos fan. I seen what
Yup.
it's like to have a quarterback that plays with gloves on. Peyton played with gloves his final season because he couldn't feel his fingertips. That is concerning. Kurt Warner, when he finished out his career, he played with gloves on because he was losing grip as well. So you have a guy coming into his NFL career with gloves already on. Doesn't sound good to me. Sounds like Von Miller, JJ Watt, TJ Watt, Joey Bosa. Those guys are going to have a field day with somebody like this.
100% agree.
Yeah, I think quarterback is weak in this year's draft. Running back, I don't think running back is weak. I just feel like a lot of these guys are on that same tier, which drop their all of their stocks pretty low. There's to me not too much of a difference between James Cook and Brees Hall. I think both of those guys can really be nice at the next level, but
Hmm.
Kenneth Walker, nice player. The guy you mentioned from Notre Dame as well, I think it definitely take the next step at the next level. With running back, is just very hard to tell. With me, evaluating running backs, I think the best thing or the highest quality that I really look for is how do you read the whole? Are you able to decipher the whole in zero point 0.2 seconds? Are you able to decipher it after you take two steps? Because I think at the next
So
level, that's really something that you need.
I think go to Jerome Ford. I think was the player that I wrote about his. There was one player that I wrote specifically about how good he was at at reading at reading the blocks. Actually, here I'm gonna look really quickly and I'll find it on my thing here. Jerome Ford, yeah. So Jerome Ford, when I write waiting behind blocks, I mean the guy would wait at the line, would wait like literally would not even move, would like start doing whatever you want to call them, bringing like high knees or something, and then would start moving, right? Like, and the question is that going to transfer? Is that something that will succeed at the NFL? And I think he is someone that's getting slept on, and I think because of his vision and reading the blocks, he'll be an elite player.
Fact. I definitely want to have a look at that. Hang on.
Also, the biggest guy that does it is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker was amazing at reading blocks this year. It shows up a lot more on tape here, if you want to pull that up too. But Kenneth Walker was a beast when it comes to reading blocks.
Hopefully, it doesn't show his. Looking for a quick video. All right, I gotta mute it so YouTube doesn't flag me or anything.
Now these are more like goal line plays.
I like that. I like that. I like that. This is a play. Looks like he was probably going to shoot the A gap.
Hmm.
Immediately his eyes are looking left. So that's great. He's coached very, very well. So he sees his first cut's not going to make it, so he does another cut. Once he makes his other cut, this defensive tackle, I believe, is trying to come in on him and get an arm tackle, completely gets that guy out of the way, and he stays on his foot. He has great balance. I can already tell. I haven't looked at his tape, which is pretty surprising.
He, he's he's definitely a good player this year.
And he just read the
Check your
tight end
DMs for a
more.
sec.
Oh my goodness. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. That reminded me of Le'Veon Bell right there. Hang
Yeah.
on. Jump cut. Jump cut. That okay. 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 I gotta look at some more film before the draft. All right, cool. But yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and check him out, man. You guys have a quick look at my guy RYAxDraft on Instagram. One of the best pages that I follow. Thank y'all for checking in with your boy Adroit Talks today. Ryan, you got anything to say to the folks?
Not really. Check me out and have a good day or a good night. See ya.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Go.